Hello, world! It's Scott Kozicki, and I have something to say. Last month, I gave a presentation to a secret cabal of over 100 senior healthcare executives. The topic was AI is going to disrupt healthcare whether you like it or not, or how I learned to stop worrying and love the robot apocalypse. This one didn't come with a 5-page non-disclosure agreement that promises to enslave my children if violated, so I get to share it for once. Due to timing, I was only given about 10 minutes to run through my slides. You can watch that very hasty version here if you like. But I wanted to give it a proper go with some fresh-off-the-wire updates and make sure certain points were emphasized that might have gotten buried in the rapid-fire delivery. So, here we go.
Hello and welcome. I'm Scott Kozicki. I'm the Managing Director for Goat Rodeo. Goat Rodeo is my advisory service where we consult with brands all across the healthcare ecosystem on strategy, building new products, new lines of revenue, leveraging innovative tools and techniques. Today's topic, AI is going to disrupt healthcare whether you like it or not. The too long didn't read version, AI is already disrupting healthcare. Here we have just a small set of examples where systems were able to predict a heart attack off of just a single scale reading, or correctly diagnose a patient in one telemedicine visit, or reduce the number of readmits from the largest MSK practice in the country by over 80%. All relying on machine learning techniques. So we're done. That concludes the presentation. Thanks for coming. Just kidding. The funny thing about all of these examples, besides the fact that I worked on all three, is that they're all over a decade old. This technology has been around for a long time and been used to do some pretty impressive things, even by today's standards. What's truly different today is the amount of curiosity, urgency, and pressure that new applications are being conceived, built, and deployed using machine learning. I credit the rise of OpenAI's ChatGPT back in late 22 as opening the eyes of decision makers around the industry. And that's led to a we gotta do something spirit that's spread through the industry like wildfire. If you're not doing something with AI, your competitor probably is, and you're behind. They say that history doesn't repeat, but it rhymes. If we set the Wayback Machine to 30 years ago and look at the buildup of the commercial internet, starting with the release of NCSA Mosaic and the founding of Netscape, combined with the Telecom Reform Act of '96, which sparked a $500 billion investment in broadband infrastructure, we see the mad rush and the very same kind of pressure and urgency we're seeing now with AI. What's interesting to take away from this era is that the crash did not stop the growth. It didn't even really slow it down. The growth kept on going. That is to say that if you looked at all the projections in the 90s about number of users coming online over the next decade, number of websites, usage metrics, etc. from back then, they were all correct. So despite the washout in the investment markets, the trends kept going, and that's what birthed our current ecosystem of tech giants like Google and Facebook and Amazon. They survived the market crash and rode those waves to be the behemoths they are now. So maybe not every AI chatbot will survive an upcoming crash, just like pets.com didn't survive, but the infrastructure and trends will continue to develop regardless. The AI boom rhymes with the internet boom. Since the internet boom, just 3 companies have poured $1 trillion into CapEx infrastructure projects, of which about half of that has come on in the last couple of years. $250 billion in 22 and 23 combined. 24 was over $250 billion, and Q1 of this year saw about $100 billion in investment here, just from these 3 companies. So about $1 trillion in the last couple of years, which doubles what they spent in the previous 20 years. Staggering. That shows that these companies are betting their lives on this technology and the subsequent revenues from these products. Just a quick side note, The one company that seems to be missing out here is Apple. And Apple is in real trouble. It was the most valuable company in the world pre-AI boom. Apple is not like the rest of the big tech companies. It is the most to gain from entering into healthcare in any capacity because it's the most trusted brand in tech. It's bet its brand on trust and privacy when Google and Facebook and Amazon will sell everything they know about you to make a buck. But Apple is headed in the wrong direction. They canceled the Apple Car, which you may say that's not healthcare, but that would have been sizable investments in predictive analytics and machine learning. The Apple Vision Pro, arguably one of the most sophisticated consumer products ever, seems to be abandoned. The Apple Health app sucks. Siri sucks and hasn't been updated in over a decade. There's tons of internal infighting and squabbling about what to do with those products and platforms, so there's no coherent AI strategy. And they botched the rollout of Apple Intelligence over the last year so badly that there's now a class action lawsuit about it. Oh, and by the way, they sunk nearly $40 billion teaching the Chinese how to be the world's high-tech manufacturing center, and they can't get out of that fast enough. So they're going to be busy trying to solve most of these problems before they can ever do anything innovative or enter into the healthcare space in a meaningful way. We talked about the amount of money pouring into the space, which creates inertia and momentum for these products and creates a lot of market education through marketing buzz. But is that all there is? Is it just marketing hype? Well, not really. It took 75 years for the telephone to reach 100 million users. It took the internet itself about 6 years or so to get to 100 million active users. Remember the phrase internet speed or internet time? Seems quaint now. It took ChatGPT 2 months to reach 100 million users. The fastest product to ever reach that milestone. You can make the argument that curiosity drove some of that, or maybe it's the marketing spend or the infrastructure spend buzz driving that. But there's something to note here. What really drove those other technologies, the telephone, the internet, WhatsApp, is something called network effect. The idea that if it's just me using the product, it's pretty useless, right? I gotta have a friend to have a phone so I can call them and make it useful. And when people join the party, it increases the value of the service exponentially. We call that Metcalfe's law. More people, more value. The difference here is that I don't need anyone else using AI to make it useful for me. It's useful for me all by itself. There is no network effect. And so, as a product, we literally haven't seen anything like that kind of speed of adoption without network effect. It's so useful as a product that it doubled that user base in about a year and then doubled again and then doubled again. Well beyond that early adopter rush we see for anything new. So within about a year and a half, we're at around just under 1 billion active users worldwide. And at current growth rates, that's within spitting distance by the end of this year of the largest application user bases in the world, which is Meta's platforms and Apple's iOS devices, which are each about 2.5 billion or so worldwide. Is it real? Is it just hype? Yes. Compare and contrast 2 examples. Over the last 2 years, Alphabet's DeepMind has produced 20 times more material configurations than all of the human experiments over the last 200 years combined. That's just one example of leveraging deep learning into the sciences and research world, and there are dozens more. Compare that with LLM-based chatbots, and if you ask any of them to give you a random number between 1 and 25, they all answer 17. The point here is there is a difference between deep learning systems and LLMs. Both are AI-driven. Both are accelerating at an incredible pace. But they are different and they will flourish in different ways and different use cases. deep machine learning systems are more suited for the kinds of things that most people think of when they think of AI use cases rather than LLMs. What's going to be another accelerant here is the combination of various AI tools and techniques with other technologies, including AI itself. Using LLMs as a voice or text interface for humans to then coordinate other AI tools. Using mixture of experts architectures so that specialized models can be sent on tasks like agents or doing calculations or doing negotiations or interacting with the real world. Diving into databases and other systems through various protocols like MCP or ACP, and then presenting the results back to us using LLMs. That is rapidly developing. It's important to remember we're just in the beginning stages of this. It's like looking at a static web page from 1995 and then comparing that to the very database-driven mobile dynamic web that we've had the last 20 years or so. Is it all about the money? Only the big get bigger? Well, maybe. Let's compare and contrast two healthcare AI projects. In one corner, we have Open Evidence, a unicorn startup that helps providers with diagnosis and treatment pathways based upon all the evidence-based research available, allowing doctors to perform at the top of their license just by entering in some notes about a patient. $100 million in funding from Silicon Valley's elite VCs, has been used by over 400,000 physicians at least once, barely 4 years old, billion-dollar valuation. Very impressive product. But in the other corner, we have Open Evidentia, a model by a group called Deep Cura. Built with $4,000 and a small team of volunteers, it actually outperforms Open Evidence's model and can do some things that Open Evidence can't. Not VC-backed, doesn't have a dedicated sales team, isn't sponsored by a leading tech company either. Who will win here? It's not easy to say right now. Point I'm trying to make is that you can have all the money, all the logos, and still get lapped by a superior product because the technology is evolving so quickly. Will Mayo or Cleveland buy Open Evidentia? Probably not, but only because of CYA and not because of features. Other provider organizations will, and they will have a better product and a cheaper cost basis. Does that give them competitive advantage? Probably. Let's look at some specific healthcare examples. What about revenue cycle? Prior auths and claims adjudication is flying faster than ever, but both sides are using bots to game the system. We've even seen examples of parties gaming the transactions to break the bot on the other side. But what's the end game here? If both sides are using this tech, then it's effectively nuclear détente. To say nothing of the complete lack of regulatory standards or legal precedent. If there's a problem, who's to blame? The bot? The people running the bot? The people who made the bot? No one knows yet. Let's look at another example. So far, AI scribes allowing ambient documentation during encounters have been positive. They're showing good numbers across all the things we would care about. Now, the tech isn't perfect, but it's getting better all the time. There's a gazillion companies in the space and very little differentiation or switching costs between them. But that's not going to be the real story here. The story is that we won't really have a choice about deploying this technology. About a third of practitioners are going to ride this out till retirement, and another third will resist it. But even if we doubled graduation rates in order to backfill the current staffing needs, it wouldn't be enough to replace everybody. But why stop with scribing? Microsoft just released their research showing that their AI diagnostics tool, MAI DXO, outperformed human doctors by 4x in accuracy and consistency. So why bother with AI supporting just clinical documentation? Why not have the AI handle referrals? Order the prescriptions based upon the best likelihood of the patient picking it up and staying compliant. Schedule the diagnostics orders. Why not engagement between encounters? This stuff already exists and has for a while. So why not prevention? Why not have a bot helping me to avoid the encounter altogether? So come on, Scott, how likely is this? That's always what I hear from my doctor friends. There's no way AI can replace me, right? Let's consider that in the US, there are about 2.2 billion encounters per year. That's patients interacting with the delivery system, both ambulatory and acute. Google gets 1 billion health-related queries per day. And within that relationship with consumers, they know way more about you than any provider. If you could magically unite all the data in every EMR and every pharmacy system and every LMS, along with all the data we like to say we want to see at the point of care, like your social determinants of health and your benefits and on and on and on, the tech companies know way more about you than the entire delivery system put together does. And that data is being used to train these models and personalize services for users. Some of you may have heard of DeepSeek, which is a Chinese open source model. It was way cheaper to build than the other frontier models like ChatGPT or Anthropic. But DeepSeek can be run locally on your own machine. Now, it doesn't run as fast as ChatGPT, but I can prevent it from sharing my data with Chinese Communist Party when I run it locally. I can tune this model to my needs, my values, my goals, my history, and it does as good a job at giving me correct diagnosis and options and risks and information about side effects and anything I want to ask for as long as I want to talk to it. Compare that with trying to get an appointment a few weeks out, then taking time out of your day to go, then parking, then waiting in the lobby and filling out the clipboard to finally get that 7 to 10 minutes I might get with my provider. And the experience isn't even close. So why would a citizen even use the delivery system for most things? We already pointed out that 8 out of 10 HCPCS for ambulatory care are low acuity conditions, so very low risk. Why go through the hassle? What's going to happen when primary care becomes even less profitable because citizens are just doing it themselves? And why wouldn't other stakeholders facilitate this? Biggest cost to employers besides wages is benefits costs, which continue to go up. Some employers spend hundreds of millions of dollars per year staffing their own clinics. Why wouldn't they just use this? So we're seeing the seeds of giant disruption sprouting in the industry. These things will scale to a point where they start to divert cash flows in a meaningful way that doesn't look anything like the status quo. And it's not a function of if, but when. And you'll see real economic change because of this. Okay, if I haven't convinced you enough, let's just review what we've talked about. It's not just a fad. It's not just big tech spending billions of dollars trying to make the metaverse a thing. Customer adoption is a real thing, and the value of the product itself without network effect is driving that adoption. There's also the feedback loop of combining that tech with other tech or itself to increase the pace of improvement in quality and deployment. In my mind, that makes it inevitable. Yes, there may be a stock washout, and yes, there are issues with the economic models behind all of these AI companies, which is a whole other presentation, but the technology is here. It's been here for a while. It's worming its way into everything, and it is going to stay. If you're not with me by now, let me show you one more thing. Healthcare labor represents the largest sector in the U.S. economy. More people work in healthcare than any other sector, including other services industries like retail and finance, by a lot. So you may look at this and say, well, that's pre-pandemic numbers from 2018. Things have changed. Can't be the same, right? These are 2024 numbers. Healthcare jobs are absorbing the job losses in other sectors, particularly manufacturing and particularly in rural areas where the county hospital is usually the largest employer. And that is ubiquitous across the whole country. This is not tenable for the healthcare system, and it's about to get really gnarly with the eradication of nearly $1 trillion from the Medicaid budget, immigration policy changes, and that's going to have a big impact on rural America. But the real accelerant is labor costs. Labor is the industry's biggest expense. AI is digital labor. That's the way to think about it. It's a replacement for human labor. Over the course of societal development, we went from human muscle to animal muscle, to industrial machinery and electricity, to information technology in the 80s, and now to cognitive compute as the drivers of productivity and the leverage for capital. The difference now is that we are making machines that won't need nearly enough humans to make or fix or maintain them, as it replaces us in many, many settings. It doesn't have to be as good as a human to take that human's job. We talk a lot about mission-critical roles like a surgeon or a highly experienced provider making life and death decisions, but the reality is that humans make mistakes. Humans are not very compliant, and most importantly, humans are expensive to scale. Machines are not, and we're used to seeing them replace humans already in many, many jobs that we thought would be impervious to automation. That is a threat to the industry itself, but also an opportunity for citizens to reshape the health ecosystem and realign it around them and their goals and their needs. This isn't just about the US, it's about health for every human being accessible, being accommodating, and an ally rather than an adversary. The story is not yet written, so it's up to us to make it about turning trillions of dollars spent monetizing human suffering into optimizing human health and well-being. Okay, that's it for today's presentation. Again, I'm Scott Kozicki, Managing Director with Goat Rodeo, a collective of healthcare experts joined by the world's greatest legion of developers to make amazing solutions for your business needs. Hit me up if you want to make innovation your competitive advantage.
If you made it this far, congratulations. You're going to be a robot's favorite pet. If you didn't, you're likely a healthcare executive of a multi-billion-dollar brand who will be wiped out in the next 5 years. Huzzah! If you want to see more content, thumbs up if you liked it, subs if you loved it. Make sure to keep an eye out for my upcoming 13-part series on healthcare disruption called Can You Heal Me Now?, where I interview a bunch of experts about how to take control of your health and well-being without a doctor's note. Coming soon to a screen near you. Till then, don't forget to love yourself and at least one other person. Cheers.
I'd like you to meet our very charming little drummer, Viola Smith.